and you know what drives me crazy, Chris? That even the Israeli media, they have refuted these lies many times, and and that's why I believe in you. I believe that you're an independent journalist and you can do something that not a single American news person have done. That just translate what is being said in the Israeli media. The Israeli media said like there was no babies in office. Many of the sexual harassment, sexual violence did not happen. Many of the women that was mentioned in the Sheryl Sandberg movie and the New York Times article were actually found to be true. Even there was like families of women that said they were being raped and burned, said like that didn't happen. So you have Israelis saying, basically, this is the biggest bro code I've ever seen in my life. You know bro code, when you lie for your bro? You're lying for your bro, and your bro doesn't want you to lie because he said like that didn't happen. So I don't know, why is the American media being more royal than the king? Why they are not actually telling you what the Israeli media is telling about October 7th?
I think it gets complicated in this way. Were people sexually abused, killed, and a whole host of other things on October 7th? Yes, full stop.
Sure, yeah.
So when you start slicing into, yeah, but this one didn't happen, even if this doesn't did, even if they did this, this, and this, they didn't do that, it starts to get into comparing the horrible in a way that distorts the reality. The reality is October 7th happened and it was terrible. That should be enough. To do an accounting of it, I think, is counterproductive. Does it matter that there weren't the dead babies and the headless babies? Yes, which is why I brought it up so much with the IDF.
Because the decapitated babies in
that
oven,
was a very powerful image.
All of that was actually made in order to have people turning a blind eye for the genocide. And I believe what's happening is genocide. And if you don't like the word genocide, how about too much killing? We can say the extreme.
Well, they're very different things. And here's why I don't like genocide. We both know, if the Israeli army wanted to kill as many people as they can, there'd be no people left there.
Let's do. Here's the thing. Listen. I actually, one of the things that the exercise that I try to do is I try to see things from Israeli point of view. I understand that there's like a lot of anti-Semitism. Like there's a lot of anti-Semitism. There's a lot of people hate us, and that's why we need to kill as many Hamas people, and we need to eradicate Hamas. There's a collateral damage. We can't do anything about it. But I don't think that's enough. Because when all of this, like so far, 40,000 people killed, those people have families who have children that will be alive, right? Those people, do you think they will love Israel anymore?
No.
So they will be hating Israel.
New generation of enemies.
So what should we do? Israel should kill those people too. And when Israel is comfortable enough with killing as many people and taking as much land, and it's safe, you will have another problem. You will have all of the Arab countries and the Muslim countries around. Do you think they will love Israel? No. So you eliminate and kill those countries too. And then by the time that Israel is comfortable enough with as much land and as just people that they kill, you will have a bigger problem. You have all of these white people in colleges that are against Israel. That's a lot of anti-Semitism. So they go and they're killed. And the thing is, we will only be safe.
But they've never acted on that instinct anywhere.
We will only be safe if Israel is safe, and Israel will be safe if all of us are dead.
But that's never happened. If anything, a history that Israel is struggling with right now in its relationship with the United States is that the United States has consistently stopped them from fighting back against their enemies.
How can you say that they stopped them? They stopped them by sending them $26 billion and
right now
a quarter of our ammunition?
They're slowing
That's a
down.
Great way.
They're slowing down weapons. Bassem, let's talk about the United States for a second.
Yes, please.
If you had American hostages, the way Hamas has the hostages, that they won't give back, even though that would be their best leverage move. Give the hostages back. Any killing that happens after that, you obviously have high ground. And say, why are you doing this? We gave you the people back. Now it must just be malice. But they're not giving them back.
So basically,
if they were all Americans, that place would be razed.
I like this discussion.
It would be razed.
What would America do? I love that discussion.
Yes.
And I want to
much more than Israel has.
And I tell of all of the kids watching us.
Much more than Israel has.
Whenever you are faced with this dilemma,
yes.
What if you have a moral dilemma? Always ask yourself, what would America do? Because that is a very impeccable track of foreign wars.
WWAD.
So what should we do next? I mean, if America, what's next? Sending them like chicken pox blankets? I mean, this is what America would do with all of that history. Is like taking marriage advice from Henry VIII, like till death do us part.
But
literally,
it is relative.
It's like taking inclusion tips from the Inquisition.
Yes, but that is the state of play. And look, it's not like we're dealing with the Middle East with the most genteel people. I could make a very easy argument that I'm sure you would accept that your home country, Egypt, their border wall with Rafah and Palestine does not speak to brotherhood. You want them out. You don't want more to get in. You don't want more in Egypt. You have not treated the ones that are there as well. Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.